On February 28th, the United States and Israel started a war of aggression against Iran. And shockingly, there has been very little interest in our Western media in the Netherlands in the Iranian perspective on this whole situation. So for this reason, today I am on the Iranian embassy in The Hague talking to the ambassador. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And to begin with, I would like to hear your perspective on what is the reason that the United States and Israel have started this war on February 28th.
Thank you very much. This is the second time, as you said, Israelis and United States attacked Iran. First time they attacked Iran when Iran was negotiating with the United States on its peaceful nuclear program. And the sixth round of negotiation was planned. And before the sixth round of negotiation to be started, they attacked Iran, bombed Iranian nuclear peaceful facilities and other facilities and infrastructure in the country. Second time, again, Iran engaged in intensive negotiation with the United States. And even this time, Iran put on the table generous proposal and flexibility on its nuclear program. But this kind of flexibility was misused and misunderstood by the United States, unfortunately. They attacked Iran again, and it seemed that these two sets of negotiation was a trick from the United States and Israeli regime to prepare themselves for attacking Iran. They attacked Iran not for the reason of having nuclear activity, because, as I said, Iranian nuclear activity is peaceful. It has been the peaceful nature of the Iranian nuclear program has been confirmed by the IAEA in several cases and times, and IAEA clearly stated that there is no diversion from peaceful activity to military activity, but the United States and Israeli regime used this as a pretext. They attacked Iran. This time they attacked Iran, they targeted military and non-military infrastructure in Iran. They targeted schools, hospitals, universities, oil production facilities, oil refinery facilities, police station, bus station, governmental offices, and the residential area in Tehran, and even in more than 170 cities around the country. The reason is that they don't like Iran, they don't like the government of Iran, they don't like the people of Iran. In many cases, Trump says they don't like Iran, he doesn't like Iran, he doesn't like people. And even recently he called the people of Iran evils. Mm-hmm. Why? Because Iran is independent. Iran wants to preserve its sovereignty, to be an independent country without having any interest for the other country in the country, without paying any ground for influence by the United States in the country. The United States had an extraordinary influence in Iran before revolution, and after revolution they lost this influence. They want to restore Iran in the same way that they did it before, and they want to topple the Iranian legitimate government and to, as they say it clearly, and they announce it clearly, to bring a government which is in line with the United States and Israel's policy.
Right. So the main reason you say is sovereignty and independence from American imperialism.
Influences, yes. Clear.
Right. And so this attack, I think, just like last year's attack, was launched with the goal to overthrow the government. As we can see, this has completely failed. On day one, I believe Trump said it would take 3 days. And on day two, he said it would take 3 weeks. And by now, they're talking about September. So the shifting deadlines, I think, indicate the success this has. We've seen many thousands of people in the streets after your supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was martyred after the attacks on the country. So what do you think is the way they think, so the aggressors in this war think they can achieve their objectives, or is there no clear plan?
I think the plan for the Trump and Netanyahu was to attack Iran, to assassinate the supreme leader, to assassinate some other high-ranking political and military officials, and then attacking Iranian army bases and infrastructure, and then after that the government will collapse. But they made miscalculation because they, unfortunately, the United States, even after the revolution, they never understood the strength and power of Iran and Iranian nation. They don't know anything about Iranian history. They don't know anything about Iranian culture. They don't know anything about Iranian. Therefore, they made miscalculation, and I think they are wrecked in their miscalculation right now, and they don't know what to do. They are sometimes make rhetoric that they are not going to negotiate, but at the same time, they requesting for negotiation and ceasefire. And they couldn't reach any of those goals and aims that projected for, and they clearly stated before and during the attack. And the government of Iran is still functioning, and the people of Iran, as you said, taking to the street to make daily protests in favor of the government and against the United States. And the power of Iran is not only arms and military. The power of Iran is, which is the real power, is power of its people. And Iran, the government of Iran has wide support of its people, and you see the people how they took part in different kind of protests recently in supporting the government, in supporting territory of the country, integrity of the country. The Iranian nation is not the one that the United States doesn't know anything about it.
We have seen over the past 2 weeks or so that on the one hand, a lot of suffering has been inflicted upon Iran. I believe over 1,000 civilian casualties by now, if I have the numbers correct.
Now it's getting around 2,000.
Okay, and on the other hand, there's been quite some evidence that Iran has inflicted a lot of damage on US military infrastructure in the region. And well, both sides claim that the other side is asking for a ceasefire. So I guess 2 questions. So firstly, what is the position of Iran on the question of a ceasefire? And secondly, what are the Iranian demands right now for cessation of hostilities? I have seen that it includes a guarantee of this not happening again in the future and reparations. But what does this concretely mean?
As you said, during this 2 weeks war, Iran destroyed all the United States bases in the region, which United States built them for several decades. Mm-hmm. They mostly been destroyed to the ground. and we made a lot of destruction on Israelis' military infrastructure as well. Your second point about the ceasefire, as has been said by different Iranian military and political officials, that Iran only accepts ceasefire that there is enough guarantee that the United States and the Israeli regime will not attack Iran again. We don't want that enter into a cycle of ceasefire and war, ceasefire and war. This time, ceasefire means that clear commitment from the United States and the Israeli regime that they will not initiate another war against Iran, although we are prepared for any war. Second issue is that we need enough guarantee that the damages that inflicted on Iran has to be covered by the United States, and that they had to remedy those damages that inflicted on Iran.
And what does a guarantee that this does not happen again look like? Because, of course, we have seen that the word of the United States is not worth very much. For example, does this mean that Iran will not allow a return of US military bases throughout the region?
I don't think anything. I don't have anything in my mind. And to be frank, I don't know how it is going to be articulated in any ceasefire negotiation. But there must be some practical way that gives guarantee that they will not start any war against Iran again. Maybe I don't know, but maybe an idea is to decide on modality of the United States bases in the region, or some other measures. These measures has to be decided by Iranian military and officials, and when any negotiation is supposed to start, I'm sure they will put those on the table. But I'm not aware of any detail, and the first step is that there must be a will and commitment from United States side that they commit themselves that they will not attack Iran. Then how practically we guarantee that they will not attack against Iran again, then this is something that has to be tailored and articulated during the negotiation.
Do you think it is conceivable that the Israeli nuclear program will be put on the table?
I don't think the Israeli nuclear program will be on the table, but I don't think that we are going to negotiate with the Israeli regime.
Mm-hmm. Is the destination of the Palestinian people part of the current strategic calculations of Iran as well?
The Palestinian people have been striving for their sovereignty and independence from Israeli occupation for 7 decades, and we are sure that they continue to do so, and they will achieve their goals through resistance and through combating Israeli occupation. Iran's rule is to not only Palestinian. Iran's principle is to support any oppressed people in the world, and we continue supporting Palestinian, Lebanese, and in their fight to deoccupy their territory from Israeli occupation. Mainly it is Palestinian and Lebanese and other nations to carry out any plans that leads to their desire to have independent country. Our role is to support them. We have been supporting them. Clearly, we had said several cases that we are supporting Palestinians, we supported them, and we continue to support. As I said, our role is to support them, but the main role and task has to be carried out by Palestinians themselves.
Then let's talk about the relationship in Iran between society and the government, because here we are very much used to people not being actively involved themselves in politics, just voting every couple of years, and the political class is very much disconnected from society in the Netherlands. How is this relationship between the governing apparatus and society in Iran?
The society in Iran is very dynamic. You see it daily. The people of Iran are very smart, and they are, they are on the ground for any situation. There is a good relation between people and the government, and as you see, the government is supported by people of Iran. I'm sure that you have seen some footages of these days. People they are taking to the street days and nights in supporting the government. But in any society, there might be some minorities or people that they critique the government for any reason. Then the government of Iran also carefully listen to those people that criticize the government for mainly economic situation, and as has been said by President Pezeshkian, President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, that those demands are legitimate, and the government of Iran is obliged to listen to those people and to make some changes and reforms in order to create a better situation for people to live.
Yes, and what methods of contributing to the governing process do people have? Because here we very much hear the narrative Iran is a totalitarian Islamic dictatorship. So can you talk about how, for example, people can voice their grievances, what the electoral process looks like, how the parliament is elected, etc.?
In Iran we have parliament election, we have election for electing president. We have election for local municipality councils. We have council of experts that their role is mainly to elect new leader, to supervise the supreme leader's activities. Mm-hmm. And in case that the supreme leader loses the condition to be a leader, the expert council has the right to dismiss even the supreme leader. Mm-hmm. As I said, we have a different kind of election. Every 4 years we have parliament election, we have president election, we have city council election, we have election for council of experts, and the people are free to choose their candidates among different candidates. In parliament, for instance, our parliament has around 90 MPs, and sometimes 12,000 people register their names and run for the seat of the parliament. It's I think the biggest number in the world. And parliament, we have distinction of powers. Parliament, the government, and judiciary system these three powers are independent. Sometimes they are in line with each other's policy. Even sometimes there is difference, like any other democracy in the world. There is no dictatorship or totalitarians. government in Iran. What Iran has is its own and special kind of democracy.
It's concerning who can participate or in elections as a candidate. I believe that there is a selection process of who can be a candidate for parliament or president. Can you also explain how this works?
Yes, there is a specific requirement and condition for those people that can be elected as a member of parliament or president. For instance, requirement of age, education, they shouldn't have any criminal record, they shouldn't have any security record against the country, for instance, being accused like spying. They don't, this kind of condition and requirement has to be scrutinized when the people register their names to run as a member of parliament or president. Then we have a expedited council that is part of our parliamentary system. They go through this requirement and then they come up with the last final list. For instance, if somebody doesn't have education requirement, they put him out of the list. Mm-hmm. If somebody has criminal record, they put him out of the list. The only requirement that those candidates must have is very clear and have been articulated in the Iranian law.
I guess here...
I think every system in the world has such a mechanism that do not let everybody to run for being as a president or member of the parliament. For instance, even in the Netherlands, I don't know, but I'm sure that if anybody has a very big criminal record, is not allowed to register or run for any position.
Yeah, I often make the comparison. Here we have the CBS, which is the Central Bureau for Statistics, and every election cycle they do a calculation of the results of each election program, which is of course within a certain economic logic, which is the neoliberal economic logic. So I guess the comparison, if your election program does not work out according to neoliberal logic, you are practically excluded from the governing process in the Netherlands. So I guess every system also in a way reproduces its own underlying systemic logic.
Yes, exactly. For instance, Iranian law, if anybody has two nationality, cannot run for election because our law doesn't recognize double nationality. Therefore, one requirement is that, if they just consider that a candidate has nationality of another country, he will be put out of the list because according to the law, he cannot. This kind of consideration and this kind of requirement condition exists in every country. It is not something new in our system.
Yes, many people would then say, if this is the case, and if people have the possibility to voice their concerns, then why is it that in the beginning of this year, especially on January 8th and 9th, there have been such violent riots? What is the underlying cause of the events that happened in early January?
In early January, we had different demonstrations, people protesting against mainly economic condition and situation. Sometimes the group of retired made a demonstration requesting the scheme to increase their scheme of retirements. We had some demonstration by teachers. They are requesting the government to pay attention to their economic situation. We had different protests in different cities and with different demands, but mainly concentrated on the economic situation. And the government said those protests and demonstrations are legitimate. We have to listen to them. We have to take their concern into account. And this kind of demonstration continued for 10 days and 12 days. And there was no single shooting or rioting or destroying the public places. But after 10 days, the Trump said that encouraged people to take to the street and demonstrate against the government, and said the help is on the way. Encouraged them to protest. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, after that, demonstration turned into violence by some people that being influenced by outsiders, mainly by CIA and Mossad, and this one has been clearly confessed that by the Israeli official that Mossad is on the ground. Then they armed some of those people. They started shooting police. They started shooting ordinary people. They started putting public places on fire. Many bus stations, around 270 banks, around 250 mosques, worship places, numerous number of bus stations and buses, ambulance, all hospitals. They put all these things on fire, and they killed a lot of ordinary people and police. And this is something that no democracy in the world tolerates. The police, had no choice other than to defend themselves, because they have been encouraged from outsider to occupy the government offices and police station. And when rioters approach the police station with gun and fire police station, the police has to defend himself. Only the police, not ordinary people, only around 300 police have been killed during this demonstration. And I am asking, which country, democracy in the world, tolerate any demonstration that kills and shoots 300 police on the street? And then unfortunately, we are sorry for any lives that lost during those riots and demonstration, but the police has a prime responsibility to restore the security and to restore the security, to secure the society for normal life, What happened, as I said, unfortunately, after the Trump and Netanyahu provocation of those rioters to take to the street and shoot the ordinary people and police, with the hope that Trump is coming and Netanyahu is coming, and as you see, they are attacking Iran, and they say the help is on the way. The kind of the help that they said is going to be on the way, we see it now. Mm-hmm. Killing students, killing people, bombing hospitals, bombing schools. This is the way, the helps that Trump and Netanyahu promised those rioters that they are coming.
One final question, because in much of Eurasia, and to some extent as well in the Netherlands, Eurasian thinking of a continental rather than transatlantic or geopolitical orientation is becoming more popular. And in the Netherlands, I guess we represent that same current. So with this change of thought that is occurring across the Eurasian continent right now in mind, what role could Iran play and contribute, and vice versa, how could relations between Europe oriented towards Eurasia rather than the transatlantic space. What opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation will become possible if this paradigm shift in foreign policy orientation could at some point in the near future occur?
Yeah, the Trump administration policy towards Europe showed that Trump doesn't respect independence and sovereignty of the European countries. If the Europe wants to be independent and real independence and keeps its sovereignty, they must not rely 100% on the United States and to pay attention to the other region in the world. And there is a very famous saying that it says 21st century is the Asia century. Because Asia economy is growing, you see that China is growing and India is growing in the region. Many countries in our region, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iran, even Pakistan. Therefore, if Europe wants to really be independent, has to balance its relation with United States and Asia as well. And Iran is in the middle of Eurasia transaction, and therefore very important element in the East West Asia with regard to preserving the security of the region, with regard to securing the flow of energy from our region to the other part of the world, especially to Europe. And I think it's in Europe's interest to have a good relation with Asia, with Iran. Iran is rich with oil and gas, which the things that Europe needs that. And even European officials now understood that relying 100% on US for their security, for their prosperity and economic prosperity was a big mistake, and Europe has to, as I said, balance its relation with the other part of the world as well, and Asia most importantly.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And finally, I guess I'll just say that at this point, the sovereign peoples of the world rely on Iranian courage and perseverance to defeat this imperialist aggression. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.